Tune into First Round Fantasy. You're talking to some guys who make it to the championship.
Welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast. I'm Gabriel Miramontes, joined by Jacob Bartley. Jacob, why didn't you wear a hat today, man?
What do you mean? I don't wear hats most days.
Well, neither do I, because we both work in education. And yeah, I mean, that's not to say you can't wear hats in education, but it's like we should have coordinated this, dude, because believe it or not, some people think we look alike. So they're just going to think that there are two people with – we get clumped into this category, man, because we're just two people with glasses.
Dark
therefore,
hair,
we look alike. Yeah, right?
Dark hair. Like
your hairline's a lot better than mine.
Whitewashed Hispanic guys, yeah.
That's the first thing I notice is that my hairline's much worse than yours, but I'll take it. Anyways, welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast. You're home for second round advice. We're not the best, but we're the best for what you're listening to right now. We're just what you need. Hey, Gabe. Hey, Gabe and Gabe. Hey, Jacob and Gabe. Thanks, Sarju. What's going on? Steve and Joe, what's up, man? Good to see you too. Thank you all for coming out, saying hi, saying hello. We're going to get started today. Jacob, how you doing before we do?
Doing pretty well, man. So week one of fantasy was like a roller coaster. I was like drunk half the time, didn't know what was going on. But this week is where like I really felt like the waiver wire fever. Like, you know, that excitement you get, like putting waivers in and then checking it in the morning to see if you got your guy, maybe staying up till midnight to make a few pickups of guys that weren't claimed. That is like one of my favorite things about fantasy football. And I felt it again this week. So that's exciting.
Man, I'm happy for you. For me, it was last week. It was week 2. And you know why? I literally woke up at like 12:30. For what?
Like
to see if I got Rex Burkhead.
You purposely woke up?
Dude, I like just the adrenaline was keeping me up. Yeah. Did I get Rex Burkhead? In a dynasty league. And my team didn't even really hurt for one. So this week I hardly put any bids in this week. My team stayed relatively healthy. Most of my teams performed fairly well. So I wasn't too active on the waiver wires this week. But last week, dude, just so much frustration for Rex Burkhead, and it did not come true. Before we get into our weekly question.
I was going to ask you, this makes us sound very ill-prepared, but so we do our podcast is normally on Wednesdays, right?
Yes.
So, do we have a waiver wire segment? Because what I'm wondering is, I remember last year we talked about it, and if you go with the traditional sleeper standard rate, like waivers process at like 7 p.m. today. So, like, are we still talking waivers? Is my question.
No. Well,
okay. So, what I think we can do is, can we open the Wednesday shows talking about like waiver wires that we got and didn't get, or things like that, like how our waiver wires went that week?
I'll give it a start. I was active on the waiver wire this week. I wasn't too hyped to get this guy, but I did. I am a James Conner owner, and I thought Darrell Williams performed well last week, and that's running back for the Arizona Cardinals. So I was able to snag him up in one of our leagues where I do have James Conner shares. I don't think if you're a James Conner owner, you necessarily need to run out there unless you're super thin at RB. But for me personally, being a James Conner owner, I felt the need to get him, and I'd much rather have him over Eno Benjamin, even though they shared quite a similar workload last week. All signs point to James Conner missing this week. He did not practice today, so I'd prefer to have Williams. But if you didn't get the bid on Williams, go out there and check to see if Eno Benjamin is there. I think either one is going to be fine this week. Jacob, what about you?
So, speaking of Darrell Williams, so I'm up at midnight last night, and I'm like, earlier in the evening yesterday, I was like, man, like I don't have the top waiver. Like I'm not going to get Darrell Williams. Like I'm just not going to put a bid in. Like I'll just pick up some random dudes off the wire.
Sure, man.
And I
Random
go and
dudes.
check all of our leagues like at like 12:05. Darrell Williams wasn't even claimed in 2 of them. I swooped him up, and it's like I don't think people realize that Connor can be out this week. Williams got all the goal line work for Arizona, so like I just think it kind of slipped under the radar, which is crazy to me. And there also are a few wide receiver players I like too.
Sure. And one of them is, for me at least, Noah Brown, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. 2 straight weeks of fantasy relevance performances. We thought even with Cooper Rush in there that he was going to be, to some extent, a disappointment. And he's come through 2 weeks in a row. He's a viable flex this week. He's actually in our start. Listen to your gut segment today. We're going to see who you have between him and another guy. You like Noah Brown, or did you have another wide receiver in mind?
Yeah, I have a couple wide receivers. I mean, if you like, people need to pay attention to Jacoby Myers. I know he's rostered in most leagues, but like we're typically talking about like a lot of casual fans just play 10-team leagues. So check your waiver wires for Jacoby Myers. There is another wide receiver I want to talk about, but it might spoil something else later, so I'll save him for later.
Sounds good, man. I don't like spoiled. I don't like being spoiled. It just doesn't feel right. I want it when everyone else gets it. That's right, guys. We hear it here first from Jacob's mouth. I don't even get the notes. He doesn't even fill the notes out. That's how spoiled.
Hey, really quick, to be fair, to be fair, and I do want to address this really quick before we move on. Gabe, this is the last time that you will ever do a fantasy football podcast as a non-married man. So I want to say congratulations, Gabe. You're getting married this weekend. And I'm happy for you and I'm excited for the wedding. Congrats. Just want to let the viewers know as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You can tell I'm super excited. I just can't wait.
Gabe's officially off the waiver wire.
Ooh, I like it.
There we go.
Way to tie it into fantasy, man. Yeah,
he's a dynasty keeper forever.
And if my family, my blood, who I hate, by the way, wasn't going to be forced to be my men of honor, somebody else would have taken that throne. I'm looking right at him.
DeMont Ricks.
No. now you just made it awkward. Yeah, you guys probably would have found your ways up there. We're moving on, folks. We're talking about fantasy football. Before we do, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow us on First Round Fantasy at Twitter, at Instagram, and on Facebook. First Round Fantasy. If you like the merch, we got the link down low. We're not wearing it today, but we always sport it from time to time. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to sport it. And before we get into trade talks, CMC for St. Brown and Javonte Williams. Who wins? This is from Stephen Joe. Personally, I do not think CMC has been himself so far this year. I understand his talent. I understand what he can be. And I hope that the Carolina Panthers figure it out. With that being said, St. Brown has been an absolute monster this year. And Javonte Williams is in a split backfield. So that trade, I don't mind it at all. I wouldn't mind the St. Brown and Javonte Williams side. And this is like the first time in history that we are now saying trades like this are actually fair. What do you think, Jacob?
I would 100% take the CMC and St. Brown side because, like, I love Javonte Williams. He's an absolute beast. But
No. It's CMC for St. Brown and Javonte Williams.
Oh, okay. My bad.
That's why I'm taking the St. Brown side and Javonte Williams.
Never mind. Either way, like, if it was vice versa, or doesn't matter, like, for sure, 100% St. Brown and Javonte Williams. Like, for some reason, I was misreading that. I thought it was CMC and St. Brown for Javonte. And, like, I would rather have Javonte than CMC, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
So the fact that you can have St. Brown and Javonte, 100%. Unless, look, to be fair, there's a possibility that CMC is the best player in fantasy for the rest of the season. If you believe that,
very likely.
If you believe that and you want to sell high on St. Brown, then go ahead. You always have to go with what you believe. But for me, 100%, I'll take Javonte and St. Brown.
Excellent. Well, hey, Stephen Joe, I appreciate you. Appreciate your question. Be sure to like and subscribe, or give us a start sit that you're dealing with this week. That's our motto. You give us a start sit and we get it right, you got to like and subscribe. If you don't get it right, you come back next week and give us another try and then like and subscribe then. Okay. With that being said, I've said that 4 times now. Here's our question of the day. Jacob, who is a player that you are looking to acquire after 2 weeks of quote unquote poor performances? Now, the reason why I use air quotes there is because I'm going first, and my player is quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. He's essentially been crucified right now with all of these people talking extreme mess. He's been roasted on Twitter, the fantasy landscape. Of course, it's still so early in the season. And what people forget is last year, before his 7-game stretch to end the season, an inevitable Super Bowl run, that first half of the year was very much similar to what we're witnessing right now. Disheveled teams, poor play calling, very vanilla play calling. Things will change in Cincinnati, and I am looking to buy Joe Burrow very low right now on the hopes that he rebounds. And to give yourself a little bit of a comparison, Justin Herbert, no complaints about him. He's been a fine fantasy star. In PPR formats, they are only separated by 8 fantasy points. I don't see a difference there. I think both of them are viable. That's not to say that Justin Herbert is going to end as a top 2 QB and Joe Burrow is going to finish at the number 8 QB. I don't know. I can't tell the future, but that's where they're projected to be, right? I just think that with a volume and I can't explain it with my head, so I'm just showing a visual. With the amount of value that's in between them, it's so small. So I am looking to go out and acquire Joe Burrow right now. That's my guy. Jacob, you got one?
That is very interesting, Gabe, because it's not like we weren't discussing a trade involving that very same player where you were trading him away, but sometimes the advice we give is different than the actions we take.
I could have also been trying to. That's a dynasty league, though. Redraft leagues, I think people drafted Burrow.
No, and we're
as
also
a starter.
We're also talking, of course, and that's a great point. And yes, that we're talking about redraft leagues. I was trying to say, like, you got me, like you had a good argument against me in that. But we're talking about redraft leagues when we come on here, unless we specifically say this is a dynasty related question or topic, whatever the case may be. But I would personally go, honestly, and I did this today, Travis Etienne. Look, I get it. And here's the thing for me. James Robinson, he probably is really just that good. Everybody wants to doubt him. Ever since he came in the league, he was undrafted rookie running back who came in and won leagues that year, right? And then he gets injured last year, and everyone expects Etienne to be the guy coming in. And I get it. We're all disappointed in Etienne, but like he's having terrible fantasy games. And look, I'm mad when Darnell Mooney gets me 0, or when Kyle Pitts gets me 3 points 2 weeks in a row. Like that pisses me off. But when I have like Etienne in my flex and he gets me 8, like of course it's disappointing, but I don't hate it. Like I'm looking for my parts of my lineup to contribute in some way, and I'm looking for 2 or 3 blow up guys to help me win. So like Etienne is at 8.5 and then 8.3 fantasy points. Not a lot of rushing work, a few targets, 4 targets, 3 targets. But the thing for me is like I think his work is going to increase throughout the year. You got to remember he's essentially functioning as a rookie because he got injured before last season started.
Very true.
And imagine if he's coming in as a rookie running back, and James Robinson is the veteran who's been there for over 2 years. Granted, he missed last year, but James Robinson is the veteran running back for all intents and purposes. And Travis Etienne is essentially a rookie. So just like a James Cook or something, we need to give him time to come in. And I think Etienne is like in a way better situation than James Cook because it's just him and Robinson. If Robinson goes down, Etienne's going to get a ton of work. And on top of that, don't forget that him and that Etienne and Lawrence are boys from college. So like they played together a lot for years. So like, I just think all of those things like play into Travis Etienne. He's going to have better days ahead, and they haven't been terrible, they've been disappointing, but not terrible. So go grab them if you can. And even in just redraft.
I was about to burst your bubble because I thought you were the person that sent me a text today that said you weren't interested in ETN. But that is false. That is incorrect. You are still very much interested
I
in
traded
Travis
for
Etienne.
ETN today in a different league, and then I'm thinking about it in another league.
You mean pick six?
Possibly, but
so conversations may continue after this podcast. There you go. Joe Burrow, Travis Etienne, two guys that you should be looking to acquire or essentially, quote unquote, buy low, as the fantasy landscape would call it, in week 2. Before we move on to our dark horses and fool's gold players of the week, this is a big comment, and I just thought it came through, so I'd read it. Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Michael Carter, A.J. Brown, Amon St. Brown, Logan Thomas, Jeff Wilson. His bench is Stevenson, Aguilar, Hardman, Renfro, and Schultz. Trades, drops, or switch out starters. I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe he wants to switch out a flex or something. I like your lineup as is, man. Your lineup is
so
sweet
he just
as is.
I think he's saying, like, here's my roster. Like, should I try to make a trade? Who should I drop, or who should I start? I mean,
your lineup going into this week is beautiful. I love all those guys.
All the first guys you mentioned, are those the starters? If I'm guessing, like, that's the only way we would know if they're starters, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about fixing this guy's lineup, the one thing I would look for is to probably trade Michael Carter to the Breece Hall owner. They've just been essentially splitting work. Why give yourself that headache when you can just let the headache be on one side? Now, of course, if injuries occur, then one guy's going to take, the load of the work. But that's really the only spot. Stevenson's been subpar this year. Sorry, Jacob.
I know. It's my biggest disappointment in fantasy so far is Ramondre Stevenson, but better days.
The bench is interesting. Schultz is injured, right? Renfro, it's sad. He went from fantasy stardom last year to really just a guy that's going to be a flex matchup dependent guy with what we've seen through the first 2 weeks. And same thing with Mecole Hardman. Never really found his footing in the fantasy landscape, but hopefully he can pull it together. Aguilar, I like. Older, a little bit more established. He's prone to those big blow-up games like we saw last year and like we saw last week. So I don't dislike your lineup, man. I'm just thinking that running back 2, maybe we can turn him, and I don't know. No one's going to want to trade for those bench players. So, yeah, I don't know. But he said yes. Their first set is the starters. Yeah, your starters look good, man.
Yeah, so Mahomes, Aaron Jones. Can you bring that back up? I think I got it right here. Yeah, I mean, bench. He says bench right here. So, okay. Yeah, it's tough because, like, I would have said Stevenson over Carter, but right now I definitely start Carter over Stevenson. So
he's just getting more work.
That's the best lineup you can put in based on your players. I mean, isn't Schultz? He can move Schultz to his IR, right?
Yeah, I will say this, and it's to the point of still getting rid of Michael Carter, because when Wilson comes back, and it's inevitable that he will, that offense is going to take a slight downgrade. Joe Flacco has been actually a surprising benefit to all offensive players in that lineup when Jeff Wilson's out there. I think literally Elijah Moore came out on Twitter or even in an interview, and he said something along the lines of, Joe Flacco just throws a better ball. So it's just like, I mean, sure, Zach Wilson's the future. They're going to roll out with him. But when he's back and healthy, I think that team takes a big hiccup for opposite purposes. So as far as running back is concerned, that's what you want to address. Jeff Wilson's your guy for right now because you have him for the next 6 to 8 weeks while Mitchell recovers. But, yeah, just be on the mend there. Running back is your weak point. A.J. Brown, he only has one wide receiver. St. Brown. Yeah, your wide receivers are loaded, dude. You're good. Playoff contention for sure. Let's see. Go get married already, my dude. You go get married. That's what I said.
He's already married.
Ah, darn. Well, all right. I guess I will.
I know, because I just went to his wedding like a month ago.
That's our producer, by the way. Should we pop him back up there?
Yes, producer Jake.
Producer Jake Berlin. Go see him on Apocalypse, talking all things movie buffs. More importantly, right now, they're getting into all the Star Wars series. Andor, right, Jacob?
Yes, I think they're shooting a review right now. Or they did earlier. They did earlier at 5. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, there's our producer out there. Let's see. A couple of more comments coming in here. Chase Banks. These are our starters: Justin Herbert, Kamara, Jones, Cook, Sutton, Coughlin, Samuel. Cowboys defense. Okay, what's going on with all these advice or trades? All right, look, we got 2 of those, man. Advice or trades. These guys must be together. Let's see. Herbert, Kamara. I like your running backs, dude. Cook and Sutton. Wide receivers are a little sketchy. Curtis Samuel's a nice flex. Joe Flacco, Edmonds. Trade Edmonds, dude. That game the other day, that was an absolute monster comeback. Edmonds had no part of. He split carries with Mostert. Maybe wait for him to have a blow-up week because it's going to be a fluke, and then you can get rid of him. So Edmonds is a guy that I'd look to trade. Oh, he's got Mostert. Okay. And same thing, dude. Renfro, it's unfortunate what's happening to him. Henry, you can drop. No reason to hold 2 tight ends. Mark Ingram. Yeah, that's just a handcuff for Kamara. You need some better wide receivers. That's for sure. I don't really know. If you want to, I don't know why we have Flacco. Oh, it's a 14
I thought
man
that
league.
said D Henry, and I was like, damn, he's on your bench. You're that upset, but it's Hunter Henry. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think both of these leagues. I don't know what size are these leagues, because
that's a 14 team league. He says it here. 14
man. Okay, that's why I was gonna say, because in those leagues, actually, you might not want to drop Hunter Henry, because in those leagues, if you check the waiver wire for tight end, there's nobody. So before you drop Hunter Henry, if you
the tight end premium league, yeah, sure, don't drop.
But no, here's the thing, Gabe. Have you ever played in a 14-man league? Because
yes,
we're in one, aren't we? Huh? But that's a super deep dynasty league. But what I'm saying is, even in a 12-man league, if you check the tight ends, there's none available. So I wouldn't be so quick on dropping Hunter Henry unless you absolutely need a spot. Yeah, I mean, your starting lineup is pretty solid. And you got some bench running backs. It's tough, man. I would maybe try to upgrade at wide receiver if you can.
Yeah, that's his weakness.
Maybe like wait for Kamara or Jones to Jones just had a monster game. Wait for Kamara to have a monster game, and then you can flip him for like a wide receiver and another running back, like something like that.
Fair enough. Hope we gave you some good advice, Chase Banks. We appreciate you, man. If you like our advice, be sure to like and subscribe. Johnny Quest in the chat. Kyle Pitts or George Kittle this week? George Kittle is playing, dude. You're playing George Kittle. Kyle Pitts just isn't what he's been. But I will say,
that's
he's in a really good rebound spot this week in Seattle. You're starting him if you have Kyle Pitts. I don't know what position you're in to have both Kittle and Pitts. That's a really interesting situation to have. But Kittle with Jimmy Garoppolo, you got to start him.
So, funny enough, we know Johnny. He's in a couple of our leagues.
We know Johnny.
He sent me a trade. He tried to send me George Kittle for Kyle Pitts, and I declined it. But that's more because I don't trust George Kittle's health. So the thing for me, this is not as easy as it sounds. Like, if you're deciding who to start, if Kittle's healthy, start Kittle. But if you're talking about, like, should I keep Kyle Pitts or trade for Kittle type thing, I would rather keep Kyle Pitts because I think he's going to be healthy all year and on the field. And I think he's definitely going to have better days ahead.
Fair enough. There you go, Johnny, man. Gio, what's up, dude? Okay, bye, Gio. More comments coming in. Steven, Joe, Man, we're getting a lot of these starters questions today. Hurts, Chase, St. Brown, Jonathan Williams, Pollard, Everett, and Cooks in the flex. Bench is Steven, Mattinson, Renfro, Edmonds. This is the same team. Why do all these teams have Stevenson and Renfro and Edmonds? It's so weird. Like 2 of the 3 teams, man. I really
they were taking my Stevenson advice too much.
Yeah, maybe they were, right? See, we got fans, Jacob. We got fans, man. I don't see any Mike Williams out there. Anyways, love Hurts, love Chase, love St. Brown. Wide receivers are awesome. Love Javonte Williams. Pollard's going to be a solid flex. You have him in your running back 2 spot, unfortunately. Everett's a pretty good tight end. At least this so far he has. And Cooks is good in your flex as well. Probably your running backs need some help. Stevenson's been poor. Mattinson's a handcuff. Then we've already talked about Renfro and Edmonds.
St. Brown, Javonte, Pollard.
He has Cook. That must be James Cook, I'm guessing.
And Cooks in flex. I think it's Brandon Cooks.
No, Brandon Cooks is up here in the flex, but then he's got another Cook down here next to Eno Benjamin. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's right.
if you really want to,
Oh, it
and
might
no
be.
one's
You said James Cook?
James Cook,
Oh, okay,
not
yeah.
Dalvin Cook, not Dalvin Cook. He would have
Yeah.
said that. He would have been in the starting. A lot of these teams we're seeing, you can't really do anything with those bench players unless they're thrown in pieces. Cooks is a guy you can turn into a running back, maybe. Maybe you can pair up Pollard and Cook. But you know what? I like Pollard a lot. And I think we both like Pollard a lot.
I love Pollard.
Kind of the fading of Zeke. So I come at it like, oh, man, he should be a flex. But that's just a changing perspective because really he's an RB2 and that's where you have him. So I think your team is pretty
low. Being a 12-man league, your wide receivers look amazing, to be honest. Chase, St. Brown, and Cooks, that's incredible. If I personally believe in Pollard. I don't know if I love him as my only RB2, but if you got to roll with them, you got to roll with them. And I would go with that starting lineup for sure. The one you have.
For sure. Gio says buy low on Dangerous.
He is killing me in one of these leagues, man. I'm 0-2 starting Russell Wilson in a league, and it's just a one quarterback league, and he's giving me less than 20 points in a league where they get 6-point touchdowns and a bunch of bonuses. So I'm over it.
Well, let me say this. I think it was Joe who was on the podcast last week. Shout out to Joe if you listen. And also shout out to Gio who's in the chat today. They were on the podcast last week. But Joe mentioned a stat and he mentioned some information from an article where the starters who started in week 1, obviously, who did not play in the preseason. So guys like Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, and Ryan Tannehill, just to name a few. Combined in week 1, those teams went 2-9 or 2-7. Meanwhile, the people who actually played in the preseason, guys like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those are top tier guys, but they're Tua Tagovailoa. Those guys were 8-1. So it's just interesting to kind of see that perspective. I think these guys are just working out the kinks. Is Russ getting older? Sure, yes. But for fantasy purposes, he doesn't have the legs like he used to. He's going to put up some numbers at some point. You just got to hold on, Jacob. Just hold on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that scares me. It's here's my problems. I have Russell Wilson in that league. I'm not dropping him or I'm not starting any quarterback on the waiver wire because in a lot of our 10-team leagues, a lot of people roster 2 quarterbacks. That's just the way our group is. Everybody rosters 2 quarterbacks except me. So not just me, half of us do, half of us don't, but that still says a lot of the quarterbacks are rostered. So there's nobody else. Tua got picked up with the top waiver this week. I can't even pick him up. So I just have to ride with Russ. But yeah, you can buy low on him if someone's willing to make a deal for sure.
For sure. This is just what he's saying. Package Curtis. No one's going to do that. Sorry, Jacob. Sorry.
Those are the type of trades that Gio sends us in our leagues.
Gio, if you're gonna trade with Jake. He's sending you a trade right now. Adam Weber, what's up, guys? James Cook and Isaiah Pacheco, are they worth bench spots, or should I drop one of them for Damian Williams? If you have James Conner, yes. Because if he misses this week, I think Damian Williams is a fine play. Although they're going up against the San Francisco 49ers. I don't really like that. That's what I was going to mention earlier. So that kind of scares me.
Connor thinks lingers?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a really tough call. Pacheco, he's only seen garbage time thus far. I don't even think he saw playing time last week. James Cook, on the other hand, fumbled, and I don't think we've seen a lot of him since. I just pulled up his stats because I was interested. I know he only had 11 rush. Oh, wow. Good job for you, James Cook. He had 11 rushes in week 2 for 53 yards. You see things every day. At that point,
blowing them out.
Yes. Oh, wait, let me see. Yeah, most of his carries
Moss
were in
and
the
Singletary off the field.
Yeah. Most of his carries were in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
I was watching that game.
I'd go Damian Williams. Yeah, I'd probably drop Pacheco. If you have him, if you don't have him, or if you do have him, drop Pacheco.
Here's the thing for me. Sure. Darrell Williams could possibly be the starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals, at least for a couple weeks, any given time coming up. And Eno Benjamin's nice, but if you see the way they use Darrell Williams in the game after Connor went out, that's how they're going to use him in most games. James Cook and Pacheco are not getting that workload. So I would even drop Cook for him, to be honest. But I would drop Pacheco first.
For sure. For sure. 2 rules in life: no drunk texting and no drunk trading. Thanks, Gio. They're duking it out in the chat
Drunk
here.
trading is the best.
It has its pros and cons. He has Barkley and Carter at the start. Yeah, man. Just listen to what Jacob gave you. Hope you thought it was good. And be sure to like and subscribe if you do decide to do something. Jacob,
thank you all so much for the questions and viewing. We appreciate it.
We do, but man, we gotta go. Jake's over here telling me to get married, and yet he's filling up my chat, man. Come on.
Let's go. Let's blaze through this.
Let's go ahead and talk about never mind. False alarm. Because I don't like to bring up them when we get into our dark horses. So we're going to talk about them right now. I love the name. Chef Inabe. It's pretty cool. Someone just offered me Nick Chubb, Curtis Samuel, and Kareem Hunt for Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce. My running back room already is Javonte, Mixon, Pierce, Stevenson.
Wow.
Pollard,
oh, my goodness.
What in the world?
A stacked running back room.
So you're getting Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce. Yeah, dude, I would do it. You're still getting Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. That alone is value. You're getting Curtis Samuel, who's been a nice flex play, even if he fades off. Look at what you're going to have after this trade. Javonte, Chubb, Pierce, Stevenson. Pollard is going to be great. Brees, dude, do it.
That is like the most running back depth I've ever seen.
Yeah, but you're just doing this trade for fun, by the way, dude. Just
yes. I would do that trade for sure, because if Curtis Samuel is the real deal, then you win the trade by a mile.
Yeah, and through 2 weeks, he's seen I think something absurd, 19 targets or something like that.
Hey, you drafted well. He said it's a 10-man league, but look, most of our leagues are 10-man leagues as well. So
we play in a couple of 12-man leagues, but most of them are 10.
We're operating from that standpoint as well. So even this looks stacked, and I would do the trade for sure.
Do the trade, man. And keep that freaking emoji. And he's also on YouTube. So, hey, we'll have to check out Chef Naobi sometime. We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. If you do the trade and Chubb or anyone goes off next week, you got to like and subscribe. That's the plan. Let's finally move on to our dark horses, Jacob. Are you ready? I'll let you go first this week. Let's go ahead and give us your dark horse for week 3 of the NFL season.
Yeah, so just want to shout out my last week dark horse that I hit, Drake London, and I wasn't here, but I did submit a dark horse, Drake London, and he's looking like a very nice player, so that's awesome. But this week, yeah, I guess you can consider this a dark horse. I don't think enough people are talking about this or aware, and I'm talking about Russell Gage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is my dark horse for week 3. Now, look, Russell Gage did not put up a great game last week, but the Bucs were struggling. They were heavily struggling. You've seen how pissed Tom Brady got. You saw the fights that broke out and everything. That was an outlier of a game, in my opinion. Now, look, Russell Gage still had 6 targets. He caught 5 of them for 28 yards. But regardless, he got 6 targets, and you're going into this game. And also, let me just preface this as well. Russell Gage is also questionable. But Mike Evans is suspended for 1 week for sure. Godwin's questionable. Julio Jones is questionable. Russell Gage is also questionable. But what I think is going to happen is we know 100% Mike Evans is out. I think I think Godwin will be out. Julio might be out. It might just be Julio and Russell Gage, or it might be just Russell Gage. They added Cole Beasley to the practice squad. I don't think he's going to even have time to play. He might. I don't know how that works, but
he'll just be a body on the field if he's there.
There's a possibility that Russell Gage is getting 10 targets this week. And he's going up against, I just had it in front of me. He's going up against the Packers. Now, look, the Packers shut out the Bears, but the Bears are the Bears, right? And that's what the Packers do to the Bears. But if you look what Justin Jefferson did to the Packers in week 1. And we're talking about Tom Brady or Justin Fields. Tom Brady has the ability to carve them up, even though Green Bay has a good defense. So I think all signs are pointing towards Russell Gage getting heavy target usage. And Tom Brady wanted him in Tampa Bay. He called him to bring him in. Like he wanted some wide receiver depth. So
Mhm.
I think he's set up to have a nice week. And volume is king in fantasy football. So fire up Russell Gage. I think he gets 5 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown.
That's fair enough. Did you look up his sleeper projection, Jacob?
Yes, I did. And it is 11.12. I'm
Over,
projecting
under?
at least 15 points.
Hey, it's about time. None of this 13.2. 15's a little high. Jacob's finally getting ballsy with it, and I like
Whatever.
it.
Yeah.
Russell Gage is a fine start this week. Go ahead and fire him up. Like Jacob said, Godwin's going to be out. Evans is suspended for a week. Julio Jones might be out. There's a good chance. Jacob said it. Volume is king. Russell Gage is Jacob's week 3 dark horse for this week. Before we get into mine, let's finish up these comments here. Gio's 0-2 because his starting running backs are CMC, Saquon, Chubb, and Henry. How? Because they suck, dude. Those are the worst RBs I've ever seen. And then he also goes on to say that his dark horse last week with Dalton Schultz. Oh, that's right. Duh. Gio was on the podcast. Was Dalton Schultz, and his bold prediction was Trey Lance was a top 5 QB. Listen, you can't predict what happened to Trey Lance, so that's just X'd out. Who cares? Dalton Schultz was also injured, so more like Gio, stop talking about players, man, being good, because you're clearly a jinx. Knock on some wood next time you say something. Let's get into my dark horse for the week. That is week 3. I'm taking an easy road because my guy last week, Devin Singletary, did not live up to the excitement or the esteemed praise that I gave him last week. So I need to get back on the board. Jacob and I are tallying these. I'm going with Jeff Wilson, running back for the San Francisco 49ers. Currently has a sleeper projection of 11.8 points. So I'm playing that to my way. Listen, we all know it's out there now. We've been talking about it today. Trey Lance is done. Jimmy Garoppolo back in. That elevates that offense. Unfortunately so for fantasy, much, much higher. And a direct benefit of that is Jeff Wilson. No more carries, no more scattered runs from Trey Lance. Jeff Wilson's getting the ball. Debo's going to get his share, sure. I can't wait to see what Mason, rookie running back for the San Francisco 49ers, is going to do after Davion, whatever his name is, Pierce. It looks like he's going to miss some time. So it looks like the 49ers are running out Jeff Wilson and Mason in the backfield. It's Jeff Wilson all the way for me. After Trey Lance went down last week, 18 carries for 84 yards. He saw a couple of targets as well. Listen, is it an easy target to pick this week? Yes, it is. I went with it just because, hey, we're for the average fantasy fan. You might be thinking, no, I don't want to start him. No, we're here to tell you it's a good time to start Jeff Wilson Jr., San Francisco running back for San Francisco 49ers running back. Jacob, I'll be ballsy with at least on my projections. So like I said, Sleeper has him for 11.8 points. I'm going much over that. Let's say 16 fantasy points. That puts him in running back 2 range. And I actually did some reading, by the way, Jacob. I didn't know how right I was. 15 or under is considered a flex start. Running back 2, anything over 16 points. That's like the average where running back 2 is usually finished in fantasy point range.
Interesting.
So, yes, he's a solid running back 2 this week.
So your dark horse this week was my fool's gold last week, which, look, he had a solid game. So, I eat my words. So I just don't ever look. I'm a 49ers fan, obviously, and I don't trust I don't trust Kyle Shanahan with fantasy football at all. Like, don't make any predictions betting on what Kyle Shanahan's going to do. That's all I'm saying. But I do think Jeff Wilson. Look, Tyrion Davis-Price is out. Like, we're down to him and Troy. Like, what is his name? Troy Mason.
I just know it's Mason. That's why I said I didn't want to take a chance and say his first name.
Not a bad call.
Not a bad call. I can't say it. And again, I'll say it again. There's Jeff Wilson, running back for the San Francisco 49ers, my dark horse for week 3. Let's move on to Fool's Gold players. But before we do you guys think Hackett is a hack? Williams, 6.7 yards a game, but coaches are terrible with game plans. I mean, week 1, they were terrible. Didn't they squeak out a win finally? They snuck out a win somewhere, right? Did they win this week?
Well, they won. They beat Houston, but but
it was Houston.
It was not pretty.
It was kind of like ugly, right? Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm glad you got Javonte Williams, so happy for you. But I think Russ and them figure it out. Let Russ cook. Do we need to start that again? Let Russ cook. So let's bring
I
that up.
guess so. We'll see.
Let's move on to Fool's Gold players. And before we do, Jarvis Landry was my pick last week. Lived up to the hype of my negative hype that I was giving him last week. So that was a hit. And we just talked about Jeff Wilson Jr., unfortunately. But if Trey Lance was there, I full-heartedly agree, Jacob. It wasn't going to be a day for him. But
Yeah.
now it's time to make it right.
Yeah. I was going to say, you hit on both your dark horses and I missed on, or you hit on both your Fool's Gold and I missed, but your choices were like pretty
come on,
safe choices, like very safe.
Fine. Now we will verify if they are safe or unsafe.
I don't think your choice this week. I think you're making a bold claim this week, though.
Well, then there you go. I'm trying to even it out. it out. You happy now?
Yes.
So with that being said, I will give you my Fool's Gold player for this week, as Jacob was alluding to, and that is Terry McLaurin, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. Very simple. After watching what Darius Slay did last week to whoever it was they played, literally don't even remember him anymore. Oh, that's right. Justin Jefferson and the Minnesota Vikings, literally wide receiver one of the best in Dynasty and one of the best in the NFL. Darius Slay absolutely made him look childish. That Eagles defense made Kirk Cousins and company look childish. And I don't think Carson Wentz is any better, which is a shame because I'm very excited about the Washington Commanders offense this year. Wentz has been good. Curtis Samuel, who we were talking about earlier, has been good. Jahan Dotson has caught a couple of touchdowns. Rookie wide receiver has been good. Logan Thomas, tight end, has been good. Antonio Gibson has been good. Terry McLaurin, on the other hand, he's been all right. So that number one option going up against Darius Slay and the Eagles defense, I'm very nervous about. Very nervous about. Sleeper projections currently have him at 13.2 fantasy points. I think he falls under that. I'm not going to go bold here and say under 10 fantasy points, but hey, since we're always banking on sleeper projections, he's going to be under that this week. And just watch your backs, man. It's already been shaky ground for Terry McLaurin this year. So you just need to kind of take it in doses. I don't like that Eagles defense. I do like the Washington Commanders offense, but I think this is their first real test this year. And it's going to be very evident how well they do very early on. So Terry McLaurin, Jacob, thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting to me because everybody, like, I don't think anybody had Dotson or Samuel over McLaurin. Like, it's just literally not one person on earth. So like, it's really hard to see like this is where things are going. But at the same time, Carson Wentz is like very unpredictable. So like his unpredictableness has came into the offense as a whole. But I love to see Curtis Samuel finally succeeding. I love to see first round pick rookie Jahan Dotson, which not enough people were talking about coming into the year, succeeding. So like it's really tough to like, okay, where do we place McLaurin? Like he just got paid. Like he's a very, like if he was on the Packers, I think he would be a wide receiver one. So it's like, where are we at with this? So we'll see. I think it's I'm not saying it's like a safe call, but I think it's like, there's a reason why you're making that call, but also there's any given week McLaurin can blow up. So it is a little bit risky.
I mean, just to put it into perspective here, Curtis Samuel, currently wide receiver 22 on the year. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver 32 on the year. Terry McLaurin, 78. It's just weird times. And it's early in the season. I understand that. It's early in the season. Curtis Samuel is certainly could be a facade, could be the next great thing, the best find of the draft, right? He's a waiver wire guy. These are those guys that we talk about at the end of the year where like no one saw this coming. He's my make-believe story of the year. The guy that just came through for everyone was an absolute value. But Terry McLaurin, through 2 weeks, he's just not finding it the way he did last year. And I don't think it gets any easier this week against the Philadelphia Eagles, which is why he is my Fool's Gold player for week 3. Jacob, you ready to talk about yours?
I am, yes.
Let's hear it, man.
So, my fool's gold for week 3 is running back Damian Harris of the New England Patriots. Now, the thing is, if you're like me, you might have to use him in a league or two because you have no other options. But it's weird because we keep seeing signs that Ramondre Stevenson is going to have a bigger workload, that he's going to be more involved in the passing game. But then Damian Harris is getting this passing work, which like 2 years ago, people were saying that. I mean, he only got 2 targets for 16 yards, but still, like Stevenson's not doing much better. So, like, we're seeing Damian Harris being used. And the thing for me is that, like, so I think people see after last week that, oh, Damian Harris had 16 fantasy points and like he was like a top 5 running back this week. Yeah. And obviously running backs are struggling in general this year in fantasy. So like that's why a guy like Damian Harris is finishing so high. But I think people are like, oh, here it is. We've decided, or it's been decided that Damian Harris is the running back to start in New England. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think Stevenson's going to have his games. Damian Harris is going to have his games. But also it really depends on the opponent. Like if they were playing Houston or the Seahawks or something, I probably wouldn't recommend benching Damian Harris. But they're playing Baltimore, who has a really good defense. And the game script is like, and look, like I said, I know Damian Harris saw a few targets, but I just think like New England is not going to keep up with Baltimore like the Dolphins just did. I just don't see that happening. I think, either New England's going to be able to control the ball, but I think Baltimore is going to blow them out. And what's going to happen is I don't think Damian Harris is going to get a lot of run. He might get a few targets here and there, but I just don't think he's going to get a lot of run. I think they're going to score like 10 points in this game. So even if he does get one touchdown, like it's not going to be great. So I'm just not feeling like, don't assume that Damian Harris is the guy going forward in New England, or that, that like he's going to have a good game against Baltimore. I just don't think either are true.
That's fair. I wouldn't rule Bill Belichick out. I mean, he's Bill Belichick. Maybe they scheme up Lamar Jackson. I don't know. But they've looked absolutely on fire to start the season. So I totally agree with you. If they fall behind, it's not Damian Harris's game because he's not going to get the rushing workload. He's probably not going to get the passing down work either. So, Jacob, are you for sure settling in Damian Harris as your full gold player for week 3?
Wait, we can change our mind?
I mean, you got to gavel the hammer, dude. Gavel the hammer.
Oh, yeah, my mouse. Here we go. Yes, Damian Harris. And look, his projection is not that high, but I think like I just think
over under, Jacob. That's the plan. What is it?
Yeah, no, I know, but we go way over the projection. So I don't know. Like I think he's expected to have more, but I said 10 fantasy points or less. So I'm gonna go with that.
I'm down with that. 10 fantasy points or less for Damian Harris this week. That's Jacob's Fool's Gold player for week 3. Awesome sauce, man. We're making pretty good time here. We're usually falling really behind, and we had a lot of questions earlier in the podcast. Speaking of questions, Tua is a Fool's Gold player this week. Get out of here with that nonsense. You're starting Tua with all your might. Also, Waddle and Samuels and Thomas are all Fool's Gold players.
I agree, Johnny.
Thomas.
Tua's a Fool's Gold like player every week.
Yeah, same with Thomas. Dude, someone's popular over there. Get it together, man. Get it together. We can hear you. I know you're having fun. We know you got things to do.
I'm tired. You know who it is? It's Joe.
No more Joe.
Joseph calling me during the podcast. So he doesn't even know that I'm podcasting right now. On top of that, he's asking me about fantasy trades. So, yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk about those after.
We live fantasy, like fantasy runs our lives over here. Just saying. Just you guys didn't notice. Well, my life. Sorry.
Let's get into these evening late games on Sunday and Monday. We love to talk about these games specifically because of the decisions that they bring up. So far through 2 seasons, we've had a couple of good conversations through 2 weeks about some of these players that you're on the fence about. Are you willing to wait this long into Sunday night, into Monday night, or do you want to pick up some of these guys earlier in the week? Which is why we like to highlight these 2 games specifically. The first one is the 49ers, your 49ers, travel into Denver to take on Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. QBs right off the bat, questionable ones, right? I think this is the first time we've had that. Jimmy Garoppolo, you're probably not starting him in 10-man leagues. You're probably not starting him in 12-man leagues. With that being said, that's usually all we talk about because we appeal to the average fantasy fan. And if you're playing in a 14-man league, like some of you guys commented today, yeah, he may be on your waiver. He may be on your radar. But in 10 and 12-man leagues, you're probably staying clear of Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, here's the thing, though.
Oh, no.
On all of my apps, the number one player picked up in every league, not, super flex or not, is Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think
that's the reason so many girls downloaded the app over the weekend and just wanted to see his face.
Wow, Gabe, just girls? That's so mean. But
and guys.
But no, this is the real reason why so many people drafted Trey Lance as their quarterback, and they did not draft a second quarterback. So they lost Trey Lance, and then they look at the waiver wire and they're like, do I want to start any of these guys? And they're like, screw it, I'm picking up Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, that's probably why he was the number one player picked up in like every fantasy app. But like, yes, I agree. He's not, he's like I don't even feel great. Like, I made a trade in a Dynasty Superflex league because I don't feel comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as one of my quarterbacks. So I needed a booster that position, but he's not like, he might be your only option. So some people that literally might be their only option.
Fair enough. What about Russell Wilson on the other side of the ball? Currently QB 20, right? Through 2 weeks of the season. That means guys like Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield even have had more fantasy production than him so far this season. Are you comfortable starting Russell Wilson against that tough 49ers defense?
No, to be honest, but like it
and
really
I
just
agree
depends.
with you, Jacob.
Like,
go ahead.
It's going to be a tough game. Like it's going to be a low scoring defensive game. Like it's a Sunday night football. People are going to be excited. It's going to be one of those 17-3 games. All right. And Denver's going to be on the 3 side, but no, I don't know about the score, but I'm just saying, like, look at what he did against Houston, like nothing. Right. And he even, and then he's playing San Francisco. Like, I just don't think it's going to be, and I'm not even like, even if I wasn't a San Francisco fan, we just know how these games go. And especially, I think because Russ just left the Seahawks and like, it's his first game against the Niners as a Bronco. Like, I think this is going to play like, because Russ knows the Niners very well and he's seen them twice a year for a long time. And so I think it's going to play like a Seattle and Niners game, low scoring defensive game. So and here's let me give you an example. Like 10-team league, Russell Wilson is my quarterback. I don't want to start him, but look at this. So
let's
like,
hear some guys on your radar. Yeah, let's hear it.
Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Mac Jones, Geno Smith. But am I gonna drop a important bench player to pick up one of those guys up to start them over Russell Wilson?
I mean, it depends who's on your bench, man, because Jared Goff has been a very nice, solid option this year. And he's going against Minnesota, who absolutely gets wrecked on. I like Jared Goff this week. He's one of the guys I would definitely start over him. Give me your lineup, man. We're settling this right now. Give me your lineup. You're dropping someone.
No.
Wait, is this the Dynasty League? No, this is
this is just redraft. So that's the thing. Like,
oh my God, how many teams? You have Russell Wilson. That's right. You have Russell Wilson.
This is beer drinkers.
Yeah. So who's on your bench, man? I'm making this decision for you right now. You're picking up Jared Goff and starting him. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings, literally one of the worst defenses. People thought they were going to improve. They haven't. So let's hear it.
I mean, look, on my bench is Darrell Williams, Kenneth Walker, Khalil Herbert. I have Jamal Williams because I have DeAndre Swift.
Fair.
And then I have Ramon Stevenson, Josh Palmer, and Russell Gage. I don't want to drop any of those guys.
Josh Palmer, dude. Josh Palmer.
Why? What if Keenan Allen's out for longer?
Is he? I don't know. Let's find out if he's playing this week. He caught what barely saved him last week was a touchdown. He had like 3 targets and a touchdown. So
here's the thing. In general, I agree with you. Like if I like had an
it's
open
redraft,
spot,
it's not dynasty. It's
if I had
different.
an open spot, or like if I like I had no quarterback, I would definitely pick up Goff. But I just don't. I'm just gonna roll with Russ, man, in that situation. But I agree with you. If any of them, it would be Goff.
Yeah, any of them would be Goff. That's good. That's good. I like where we're at so far. We only got to the QBs. We're going to answer this trade really quick. Would you guys trade Henry for Swift? Absolutely. Swift has been so
I
dynamic
want
this
Swift
year.
in that trade.
If it's PPR, for sure. If it's
Oh yeah,
standard,
that's a great point.
if it's standard, I still think for sure. Derrick Henry is literally saved last week by the touchdown. So I don't know, man. That offense is in flux. Get out of there while you can. Tannehill's look
I
awful.
think the
And sure, it
Titans
might have
should
just been the
trade
Bills.
Derrick Henry.
What's that?
I think the Titans should trade Derrick Henry.
All right. Well, now we're just getting ballsy, man. Calm down.
I'm serious. To the Rams. Watch, it's gonna happen. Watch.
Okay.
Hey,
I
Sean
want to see
McVay
it.
would do that. Sean McVay
I
would
want to
do that.
see it just so I can see the look on your face when it does happen, and you're just gonna be
Watch.
like, "I am all knowing."
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, take that trade any day of the week. We appreciate you so much. If you take the trade and Derrick Henry sucks next week and Swift keeps going on like he does, make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate you so much. Running backs in that 49ers at Broncos game. Jeff Wilson's my start of the week, or quote unquote dark horse of the week. You're starting him. You start Mason? Probably not. I think on a Monday night game, you're not going to get there and flex him unless you're in like a 14 or 16 man league. On the other side of the ball, we have Javonte Williams. You're starting him. Melvin Gordon. Again, I mean, he just wasn't as productive as he was last year. But some people are starting him in 12-man leagues, and I don't see a problem with it. You're just banking on a touchdown because that's kind of where his value's at. Wide receivers, if Judy plays, you're starting him. Sutton, you're starting him. Debo, you're starting him. Ayuk, you're probably starting him. So yeah.
Depends on your options. But let me just tell people real quick. If you can, trade for Debo Samuel right now before Sunday. If you're able to trade for Debo Samuel somehow, some way, like not giving up too much, obviously, do it, because I don't think casual, like non-Niner fans are thinking about this that much. That like the reason why a lot of us were saying he's not going to be the same player as last year is because Trey Lance was going to be the quarterback, take a lot of that rushing away. Now Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback for the rest of the season. Debo's right back into the position that he was last year with less running back depth. Trade for Debo.
I will say this, that we made a trade in our redraft league.
But before all this happened.
If that would have happened, I wouldn't have done it. Obviously, I'm happy with Michael Williams' week.
I mean, I gave you Mike Williams, and Metcalf hasn't done anything, but he will.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think
Let's take Metcalf back here. You can have Jamal Williams. There we go.
Let's move on. Tight end, George Kittle. We talked about him a little bit earlier. I think if he's back and he's playing, him and Jimmy G got a bond like no other. I think you're starting him.
Oh, yeah. Like, for example,
it's just tight end, man. It's tight end.
I have Pat Freiermuth in the league that I have Kittle in. Freiermuth has been solid, but if Kittle's active, I'm starting Kittle.
Fair enough. And then I don't know who the Denver Broncos tight ends are.
Alberto.
Yeah, has he done anything? I don't think so. So I don't think you can look it up. I don't pay attention to him. I don't have many shares of him. Again, we're just your average fantasy podcast. We don't have to know everybody. Okay, get over
Albert Okawan.
Save your brain for more.
Okawabuna. I don't know. I mean, oh my goodness, he put up a donut in week 2. Was he even active?
They have another guy. You had a tight end in one of our dynasty leagues.
Yeah, but he's not. He's hurt. He's injured.
Okay, well then there you go.
Greg Dulcich. It's Greg Dulcich. Yeah,
you're not.
Alberto Bagels. Oh, in dream matchup with Jerry Jeudy injured. Yeah, you're not starting Alberto.
Yeah, there you go. Let's move on to our next game. This is the Monday night game. The Dallas Cowboys head to New York to take on the Giants. And again, we are having 2 QBs that we're not too fine with starting. So you're not starting Cooper Rush on one side of the ball, and a lot of people are starting Daniel Jones. But we just talked about it. Daniel Jones, far better than guys like Russell Wilson this week. Let's see if I still have it up here. I'll give you some of the other guys. Where's he at? Oh, well, he's only better than Russell Wilson. He's QB 19. Russell Wilson is 20. I mean, 10, 12-man leagues. He's probably not your guy. So don't do it. I think the Dallas Cowboys offense or defense is still very much intact. It's just that offense that's in flux. So be careful when you make those decisions. You're probably not going to want to start them. Let's see here. Running backs. Ezekiel Elliott. I think you have to because you drafted to start him.
Yeah.
And then Pollard. Pollard, you're starting. He's a fine flex play. He's even in the running back 2 discussion. I like him a lot. And then Barkley, you're starting him. Wide receivers, You're starting Lamb because you spent the draft capital. Just like this guy just mentioned, Johnny Quest with the Noah Brown. Yeah, we like him too. He's been relevant. He's been helpful the first 2 weeks of this fantasy season, this young fantasy season. But I mean, Sunday night or Monday night, it's a weird predicament. If you're starting him, it's because you have absolutely no one else. I think if he absolutely does well this week, then he's a guy that you can talk about being an every week flex. But we need that one last week. And this is Monday Night Football. How much do you need? You need 15 points. You need 16 points. He'll get it for you because that's what he's been doing. But you got to take a really hard pill if he doesn't. This is his prove it year, or this is his prove it game for me. For me personally, I picked up Noah Brown. I'm not going to start him this week, but I picked him up. And in week 3, if he can continue doing what he's been doing, then I think he's a weekly flex.
Man, you love Noah Brown.
Well, he's been good, man. What do you want me to say?
Behind the curtain, Gabe and I, yes, we're crazy fantasy players. We co-manage a 14-team dynasty league that's also
Did we pick him
league.
Up?
You had him in our starting lineup.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
Okay, so
many leagues.
Gabe doesn't even remember, but Gabe and I co-manage a 14-team dynasty Devy league, and he has Noah Brown. He picked up Noah Brown and started him. So
the teams go deep in that league, though. It's 14 teams.
It's like 30-man rosters. So yeah. But hey, that's a great pickup, right?
It's a great pickup indeed. All right, man. So, we just talked about Noah Brown. Other side of the ball, Sterling Shepard. You don't like to say the name, but he's putting up fantasy points that are like right there. They're getting you by. So if you got to rule him out there, if you absolutely need someone, say you were going to start someone Sunday morning, boom, they go down with an injury. Sterling Shepard might be your guy. Maybe you're going into Sunday night and, Jerry Jeudy doesn't play. Oh, man, I didn't pick anyone up. Sterling Shepard's probably your guy. He's available in 50% odds some leagues. So he's there if you need him. You're not starting Tony. He hasn't shown anything. You're not starting Galladay. They have a guy by the name of Rick James. All right, I don't know if his first name is Rick James. That might have been too much of a stereotypical comment. I apologize. But the last name is James, wide receiver for the New York Giants. He's been fantasy relevant. He's been off of fantasy radars, but he's put up 13 and 12 fantasy points respectively. So if you need it, if you need something, he's had 7 and 5 targets respectively. He's going to get something. So if you need something, I don't even know his first name, but James is a guy you might look for out there on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, Star Drew actually asked us about this game a while ago, and perfect timing to talk about it. I mean, these teams are so weird. Like, they're hard to predict what's going on right now. Like, if Dak was playing at 100%, choose the Cowboys to win this game. But where's it at? Is it in New York?
Yeah, it's in New York.
Okay, I'm gonna take the Giants, honestly, in this one. Star Drew, I don't know the score. I don't.
Ooh, we should start taking prop bets, dude.
We can. Yeah. I'm totally down for that. But I don't know the score right now, Star Drew. But I would totally go. I think the Giants are gonna take that one. The Cowboys just fought it out with the Bengals. I don't know. And as far as look, we all know who the must starts are on each team. The thing is, I get Elliott Pollard. If you have Pollard, I have a league where I hate my flexes, and I would love to have Pollard on that team. I've been a believer of Pollard for years, and I always predicted he's going to have standalone value and that he's going to eventually take the job from Zeke. And I think we're on the precipice of that. So I think it's happening. So trade for Pollard, start Pollard, whatever you got to do.
Fair enough. There you go. There's our and tight ends. Dalton Schultz injured. I don't know who the backup is. Again, just average fantasy podcast here. Second round advice. Really prepared we are, man. I love it. And then for the Giants, Rudolph, is he there still? I just don't know. No one's viable at tight end. Be careful who you pick. Okay, no. You're not. You just don't have those guys. You don't. You don't. Especially the backup in Dallas. There you go.
Watch. They're going to go off, though. They're going to go off.
They're going to go off, and we're going to look foolish, but no one here is expecting them to be, godly. There's your Sunday night and Monday night preview. We do it quick. We take our time sometimes, but we like to just go over them and highlight them really quick to kind of give you that nudge in the right direction if you're considering starting them later in the evenings on Monday and Sunday. Start Wilson or Wentz this week. That's from Lucius. I'm not going to say your last name.
Lucius
Thank
V.
you so much for the question, because you know why? That's probably the toughest question we've had all day long. Everything today we've gotten has been
Who are the
right from the gut.
Commanders playing?
Dude, they're going up against Philadelphia, and look what they did to Minnesota last week. The Commanders have been, for fantasy, they have been a Cinderella story. Wentz is a top 4 QB right now. Curtis Williams, we talked about it, 23. Jahan Johnson, 32. And Terry McLaurin, 78.
Yeah, I'm starting Carson Wentz. I wish I had. I'm saying.
Dude, I don't know, man. That's so tough.
Russell Wilson, we just talked about how terrible of a matchup Russell Wilson has.
I have Terry McLaurin as my fool's gold player this week. I just think that Eagles defense looks legit. They fixed the quirks that were there in week 1, and we're going to find out. I said this when we were talking about Terry McLaurin. We're going to find out this week if the Washington Commanders are who they say they are. Can they do it, right? Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. At least he has a track record and not a 2-game skid of sample size. And you said that they've played San Francisco year after year after year. So to them, this is going to be like a Seahawks Niners game, right? It's just going to be some of that same mentality. But you also said it's going to be a slow, grinded out game. It's so tough. It's so tough. It's so tough.
Yeah, I'm riding a hot hand.
I don't have any shares of Wilson
at all.
I have Wentz in our 12-man dynasty league. Obviously, I'm starting him. But, dude, what a great question. I would love to hear what other people in the comments are thinking. So just please let us know. Let us know. Lucius, Jacob said Wentz. So if he gets it right and he hits, you got to like and subscribe.
I'm just telling you, like, if I had Wentz in that league that I've been talking about, I would start Wentz.
All right. Fair enough, man. You know what? I'm going to answer right here. We always have our listen to your gut segment. We're going to get to it shortly. Jacob, give it to me again. Russell Wilson or Carson Wentz, and I'm just going to say what first thing comes to my head.
Okay, Gabe. I got a question for you, Gabe. It's a start-sit question. It's a this or that question. Russell Wilson against San Francisco or Carson Wentz against the Eagles?
Oh, Carson Wentz. Oh, man, that was tough. That was tough, dude.
Exactly,
Woo!
Yeah.
That hurt. Interesting.
Oh, right, but we have a viewer who disagrees.
Let's see, dude. Wentz will be dude, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, that Eagles defense was top notch. They were nothing like the week 1 performance in Detroit.
Thank you for viewing. Hendricks says Wentz will be demolished this week. Broncos country, let's ride. Maybe they're a Broncos fan.
Maybe they're a Broncos fan.
Over Burrow? No, I wouldn't start him over Burrow. If that's what you were asking, no.
Wait, start Wentz over Burrow?
Yeah.
Even though Wentz is a top 4 quarterback this year. But again, maybe not demolished, but don't expect a big week. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree.
I don't expect a big week from
he could have been a fool's gold player this week. I chose his counterpart, Terry McLaurin. I was debating putting up Carson Wentz. Yeah. I just thought, well, he's a top 4 quarterback. People are obviously starting him. But also, people probably haven't been starting him. He's been on waiver wires just blowing up. And people are going to pick him up this week because it's 2 weeks in a row. They're looking at all the standings. They're like, man, this guy's been amazing. And he's going to hit a wall. So temper your expectations this week for Russell Wilson. I think what we need to do here, let's look up sleeper projections, Jacob. Get them up for me right now. Let's go. Russell Wilson. I'll look up Russell Wilson. You look up Carson Wentz. Actually, no. You look up Russell Wilson. I'll look up Carson Wentz. Do it right now. Sleeper projections. Just because I have Carson Wentz.
Sleeper still has Russell Wilson in the Seahawks uniform. And with the Broncos background, it looks so ugly.
What's his sleeper projection, man? We got to go over under.
24.12.
24.12. You going over or under on that?
Under.
I'm going under as well. They have Carson Wentz at 20.37. I'm going under on that. So if you do that calculation, it's Russell Wilson. So listen to your gut doesn't always work. When you look at stats, it says Russell Wilson. And when you look at fantasy performance, it says Carson Wentz. But when you look at defenses, it's the biggest conundrum of the week, man. And I'm so glad we're getting to end our show with this discussion because it's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. We'll leave you with all that information. We got to get going here. We only got a few more minutes. Emmy Iktebe. Should I trade Allen Robinson and Henderson for Lundard and Pollard or Sutton and Gordon? I don't know if Gordon is Melvin Gordon then dude, you need to trade for London and Pollard ASAP. Do it.
Yeah,
now.
I would. A-Rob and Henderson for London and Pollard. I would do that in a heartbeat.
See, that's the kind of questions we need, man.
I
Just
would
in
do
and
that in a
out. Let's shoot
heartbeat.
them out, dude.
I think
Let's...
London. It looks like London's gonna hit. I mean, I just talked about how much I love Pollard. We do have one more question from Stephen Joe because he asked twice. I do want to get to it.
Oh, sorry.
He says, "What do you guys think of Jerick McKinnon? Had more goal line carries than CEH. If CEH goes down, he could be a big pickup." I actually really like Jerick McKinnon. I was eyeing him in a league, but I didn't know who to drop, and I waited too long, and somebody else picked him up, which goes to show you that like I'm not the only one eyeing McKinnon. Like he can get a lot of quality work on the Chiefs, and I do think he could be like the Chiefs version of JD McKissick. So like a JD McKissick, but on the Chiefs. So like I think he could evolve into that this season. So yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, don't trade for him, but like if he's available on the waiver wires and you have an open spot, go grab him up.
Go grab him up, man. Yeah, we were talking about Isaiah Pacheco earlier. Jerick McKinnon's the guy. I don't even think we mentioned that in that conversation because it was more of like a James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco type thing. Good offense. Jerick McKinnon's the guy that you want to have as a premium handcuff. And you know what? CEH played well this year. Played extremely well this year. So I can't wait to see what he does and hopes he can sustain it. Because when people are good for fantasy, fantasy's good in general. So we like it. Thanks for your questions, guys. We appreciate it so much. If we get them right, like and subscribe. If we don't, come back so we can try again. That's, I'm just going to keep saying it. That's my new slogan. Jacob, you ready to listen to your gut, man?
Always.
Let's do it. I'm putting 25 seconds on the clock. And I had Joe and Gio on last week, and it took us 48 seconds. But I basically just assumed that like we could double it up since there were two of them. Mm-hmm. But you have 25 seconds, man. 25 seconds.
All
ready
right.
to go. Have you seen them yet? Oh, well, you can't see them.
I didn't see them yet. I mean, okay. I noticed the area on the notes, but I don't remember what they are.
Fair enough. Let's go. Anybody who listens to this, Jacob never saw them. Ready? And it doesn't start until after I read the first one. Here we go, Jacob. Aaron Rodgers at Tampa Bay or Russell Wilson versus Denver?
Aaron Rodgers.
Henderson at Arizona or Chase Edmonds versus Buffalo?
That's so gross. Henderson.
Marquise Brown at LA or Brandon Cooks at Chicago?
Brandon Cooks.
Darren Waller at Tennessee or Pat Freiermuth at Cleveland?
Darren Waller.
Lockett at ATL or Renfro at Tennessee?
Lockett.
Boom. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. If that was a 40 time, that'd be the worst 40 time in the history of 40s. Not bad. Not bad. I would side with Aaron Wait, you say Aaron Rodgers, right?
I said Rodgers, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, Tampa Bay. That was a tough one.
Well, here's the thing.
And then we started talking about Russell Wilson. So everything there is just blowing up in my head.
I don't love either option.
Yeah. Henderson, man, everyone thought he was such a prime matchup last week in ATL. And then they came out and Akers out carried him, but Henderson got the touchdown. Now that backfield just scares me in general. So I'm really nervous. So, but you have to go Henderson. Edmonds hasn't done anything. Marquise Brown or Cooks. You chose Cooks. That's not a bad call. Waller is a good call. And Lockett. I feel comfortable with that. Very good. Oh my gosh. Star Drew even coined us out himself. He's keeping us on track here. It's time's up. Yes, it is indeed. We appreciate you all so much for tuning in tonight. We got a ton of action in the live feed. And again, we just appreciate you guys. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at First Round Fantasy. You can follow us here on YouTube. Hit that button right down below. You know all those cool graphics that some channels have with the arrow that points down? We don't have it, so it's just my finger. Look down and hit it, okay? We appreciate you so much. Jacob, are you ready for your hot take, or do you want me to cue it up? You can hot take.
I have a hot take.
You have a hot take? Let me cue this up, man. Hold on. Give me a second here. I'm looking for it.
Oh, yeah. Brand.
I'm there.
Yes.
Live show outro. All right, man. Give it to us.
I'll tell you guys what, we didn't talk about this guy all podcast at all. And he's on our thumbnail. But I'm here to tell you right now that Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets is the Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase of this year. Lock it down.
Oh my goodness.
Peace out.
Peace. It's still rolling. It's just says end the broadcast, but it's paused on ending the broadcast. So, what's up, guys? We're back.
Are we still live? Hello.
An error
Welcome to
occurred.
the-
Okay, wait a moment, then try again.